recording this on Wednesday morning. What a treat. We have with us from La Fiera Deportiva, Hernan. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Reuben. How are you?
And of course, the special guest, Chicago Fire game analyst on My 50 TV and college game analyst and studio host of the Big Ten Network, and one of the best accents in all the city, Kevin Egan. Kevin, how you doing today?
No, lads, thank you for having me in. Genuinely, it's a real pleasure.
No problem. Thank you very much. I don't know. It's a pleasure. I want to let Reuben have you here. First time in the Illinois Center for Broadcasting. I hope it's not the last one.
Yeah, no, anytime. Honestly, just let me know. It's a really cool facility, and it's nice being able to do this looking out on the street, too. It's class.
People can walk by and see it and do weird things and they're kind of distracted with that. Especially when the high school across the street lets out. So they just come by and do weird things. It's strange. It's like being in the zoo. First off, let's start Friday. It seemed to me to start really well for the Fire. What happened?
Are you talking about the season as a whole?
No, just
the match. Yeah, the first. Forget about the goal after 6 minutes. I thought that the first, 3 or 4 minutes, very very impressive. And when Dilly turned inside and got a shot off, Mike McGee was in acres of space to just tap it home. It was, you're thinking to yourself, what? Where are New York at the back right now? This Chicago Fire team looks like it could cut New York open at any moment. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, 90 seconds later, Juan Luis Anangonó has an unbelievable chance to put the team 2-0 up. If that goal goes in my opinion, the Fire will go on and score at least 3, and New York's fans will start to go against their team like they have in the past in years gone by. And I just, honestly, that was a big, big miss at the time. And then the goal to concede to Thierry Henry, who's one of the greatest players to ever play the game, but to give Thierry Henry that much space, being able to chest down the ball and be 5 or 6 yards away from both Baki Sumari and Austin Berry was very disappointing. Unbelievable strike though. Like, let's be fair to him, it was an incredible goal and Sean Johnson could do nothing about it. So, look, it was very disappointing.
He does that, doesn't he, Thierry Henry?
Yeah.
He scores what he wants.
Scored, like I said on the broadcast, I'm still trying to get over the fact that he handled the ball against Ireland years ago to qualify for the World Cup.
I was just about to say, even if he has to use his hands.
Yeah.
On that play, and I was watching the game with my dad, and my dad made a comment that I thought was interesting. I thought I'd ask. The direct lead up to Henry's goal, the Fire were on a break, and Juan Luis Anangonó had the ball. It seemed like he took too long on the ball, got stood up, that left all the Fire players, because he had support. I think he had Alex and Nyako and McGee on support, and he didn't do anything with the ball, and the Fire got caught.
Yeah, I think there's probably about 12 moments in every single soccer match that determine what happens, what the outcome will be, and certainly, delaying on the ball, not playing the ball to Alex when maybe he should have. In my opinion, Alex had made a great run, and he just had to slip the ball through, and not playing Alex the ball at that time, and in the end, getting intercepted and. New York play a long ball up to Thierry Henry and boom, within 10 seconds of Juan Luis Anangonó losing the ball, the Fire concede a goal. And those are the types of moments in games. Instead of being 2-0 up, you're 1-0. And that was just an absolutely killer blow.
Do you think that was the moment they lost the game? Because it seemed like even after they conceded to make it 1-1, they were still, playing and going for it and had chances.
Yeah, I definitely felt being at the stadium, it was an incredible, sense of relief around Red Bull Arena for large stretches of the game. I don't think that was the moment, though. New York came out in the second half and completely dominated Chicago. There was no doubt about that. In the second half, there was no comparison. Was there?
I think the Chicago Fire was trying to play really back-to-back with New York, and, in the end, the Fire extinguished, they couldn't hold that moment. Especially when I talked to Arevalo Rios, he said we have to calm down a little bit, not try to go after the score. They didn't want to try to score again, but I think that, like you say, it's not the first time either Alex or Anangonó trying to be the hero for the Fire and trying to score and not pass the ball. We've seen this before.
Yeah.
What do you think about Frank's substitution choices? Because on Twitter and in my living room, we were all questioning, taking off your two most creative players in Nyako and Duca. it seemed to me, and I said this on Twitter, that he was essentially, because we all know the stakes for him, that he was quitting his job in the second half, taking off your two best players.
Yeah, I at the time, I'll be honest, I thought it was a little bit of a strange one also because it reminded me years ago of when Ireland played against Holland in 2001, and Holland had so many great players: Dennis Bergkamp, Mark Overmars, Ruud van Nistelrooy, all these great players. And what they did against Ireland went 1-0 up, and their coach at the time started taking off all the wingers to supplement them with strikers. But in the end, there was no creativity because you had Ruud van Nistelrooy playing as a right winger, you know, and you had guys like Van Hooijdonk playing on the left, and it didn't work at all, and there's no natural width. And certainly in the second half, with a half hour to go, Nyako went off and then Duca followed, and there was very little kind of creative force because Chris Rolfe doesn't offer the same creativity on the flank, and Alex is a good left winger, but I'd still prefer to see Dilly Duca on the ball in a 1v1 situation. So yeah, maybe Frank, you know, if you could do it again, might make some changes. You live and die by those choices.
Quincy Amarikwa, though, gets himself another garbage goal.
I've been a big fan of Quincy all season.
He saved himself a job?
I hope so, because I think Quincy has a wonderful attitude. He is the fittest player in the Chicago Fire squad. He is so he's an absolute athlete, to the extreme. He can jump higher than most players. He can run the channels. Technically, is he unbelievably gifted? No, I think he'd agree. He'd probably tell you that himself. But what he will give you, though, is an instant impact. And he, in my opinion, turned Chicago Fire's season on its head when he scored in Rio Tinto Stadium.
We were talking about 2 seasons for the Chicago Fire. The first one, where they started with the record 2-7-1, I believe, and the second one, they started to hire 5 new players like Anangono, Arevalo Rios, then Larentowski, Linder, and I believe one more. But does it help? I mean, can you put a resume like how the Chicago Fire did in general with the changes?
You mean in terms of...
In terms of the season, the whole season of the Chicago Fire?
Well, at the end of the day, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but the table, the standings don't lie. And it doesn't matter if you start the season poorly and end well. It really, a lot of that doesn't matter when you're not playing in a playoff match, you know. And I think that's like what Fire fans crave and what the ownership craves, obviously, you know. And it was a poor start. It was a very poor start to lose home games against the likes of New England, Chivas, and Philadelphia. But to finish the way they did would give me great hope for next season. If you can keep the likes of Rios, who I think is an incredible soccer player, I think he's very, very good. And if you can keep the likes of him, you have Mike McGee in your ranks now. It could be a different look next year. But
you bring up something interesting I want to touch on. This is Far Post Radio Chicago, sportsradio.com, Reuben, Tisch, Hernan, and Kevin Egan joining us in the studio. There's a rumor going around MLS journalism circles about TFC in January or in the summer getting Jermaine Defoe, Tottenham striker, who's sort of lying and sitting on the bench for Spurs right now. And it brings up another frustration for this club in that they haven't had a real, no disrespect to Mike McGee, they have not had a real impact player since Cuauhtemoc Blanco. And I think a lot of the fan base is frustrated with that. What would you suggest the front office do during this offseason or in the summer to...
Well, I think what they obviously want to try and do is identify the player that they need and the player that they want. And to I don't know, everyone seems to have a different opinion on what exactly the Chicago Fire team needs. For me, I still think the team needs an out and out, and this is gonna, people might laugh at me saying this right now, but I was about to say the Chicago Fire needs a guy who's going to score 20 goals a season, right? Now, people will say, well, we have Mike McGee, but I don't know if Mike is the type of guy who's going to be able to do that season in, season out. And he's 29 now. I still think the Fire needs someone like a real kind of person who's dominant in the air, who's also good at the ball or feet. The person who has always sprung to mind for me was Miroslav Klose from Germany. That type of guy. What's that?
I've said that for years, and his contract is up at Napoli at the end of the season.
That's the type of guy, yeah, that I would think could dominate Major League Soccer.
He's going to Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah?
Wow. Because Keane's leaving at the end of the year, I think.
You know, Kevin, I'm sorry. No, go ahead, Reuben.
No, I was just saying we have 2 minutes.
Oh, sure. I was gonna show you the 2 players that Chicago Fire needs. I want you to make a choice.
So for anyone listening, it's
yeah, it's the Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. Which one you will bring to Chicago Fire? Which one's your favorite?
oh, it's without a doubt Messi.
Lionel Messi.
I vote Zlatan.
Zlatan?
Zlatan.
Oh.
Did you see those goals he scored the last couple of rounds in both the Champions League and in Liga? I mean, Zlatan's unbelievable. So, speaking of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, let's talk a bit. We've got a little bit of time left. I want to get your thoughts. Ireland not doing so well in qualifying. Trapattoni leaves his job. Where do they go from here? Because their squad is aging, and it doesn't really seem like.
Yeah, they're aging, and they're aging for a reason, because Trapattoni never ever, throughout his early days in the Ireland job, looked toward youth at all, and never brought through some players like the likes of James McCarthy, who's at Everton now, and Seamus Coleman at Everton. There were plenty of players there that he could have brought through at a younger age. Instead, he insisted on bringing older guys to the European Championships in Poland, and I just feel that he waited too long. The FAI should have parted ways with Trapattoni a lot sooner. Trapattoni's a legend in the game, but he is now in his 80s. I think he's mid 70s, and he's incredibly stubborn with regard to his managing technique. So I feel that the country needs somebody like a Martin O'Neill, somebody to come in and give an injection of energy and enthusiasm, and somebody who's very passionate about the country, and somebody who can speak the language.
Right. Last thing. There are rumors going around today. We're recording this on Wednesday, and obviously because of your position, it'd be very hard to speak. But if the rumors are true that Frank Klopas has been let go by the Chicago Fire, where do they go from here?
Oh well, if the rumors are true, it's obviously it's a very swift move after the Fire have been eliminated. So there is a little bit of time, but they're going to want to. I think the front office will like to make a move as soon as possible. I'm not sure. The initial names that are being named off, like the likes of Jesse Marsh, I'm not sure. It's one of those things where they're going to have to take a step back and figure out exactly what kind of squad they have, what kind of soccer do they want to implement, and also who is going to love the city, love the club as much as Frank Klopas. Because the one thing I'll say about Frank is, it's 15 years to the day today since he scored in the US Open Cup and won it for the Fire. And the guy bleeds Chicago Fire red, and I've never in my life met someone who's been so passionate about their job, genuinely, and I mean that sincerely, who just at times he seemed nervous, at times he seemed edgy, because he just loved Chicago Fire so much, and still will always love the club so much.
I'll tell you what, this might be blasphemous, but I think the best 2 guys for the job are Steve Nicol and Paul Mariner, who beat the bejesus out of the Fire in the playoffs early on.
Kevin,
we want to say thank you for
very much.
stopping by.
I need
so much.
I need one more question to ask you. The World Cup. Who's your favorite? Brazil 2014. You gotta need 2 teams at least. 2 teams.
I think we might see a bit of history with Argentina.
Argentina?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
you don't choose Brazil for championship?
No.
Wow.
No.
That's amazing.
At least you didn't say that.
I don't think Brazil are good enough. I think Argentina might be a good. A lot of people will never pick Argentina because they feel they're going to flop at the final hurdle. But I think Argentina might be a really good shout now. They've got some good balance.
Thank you.